Y'all already know what it is. It's 8 p.m. Eastern, and we are live on the Evening Rush Network. It is the T.L.Mac Fitness Show with Mac and Roz. And of course, you guys see we don't have Roz here because she's actually handling some business, and she'll be back next week. But we have a very, 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 very special guest. And this guest right here is so special. She goes back with me like almost 40 years. Yeah, that's a long time. You old. But anyway, let me introduce her. This is Melba Martinez, right? She's a real estate agent. She's in community development. Matter of fact, Melba, you just tell everybody what you do and how you do it. Introduce yourself.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here tonight. It has been a very long time. Yes, I feel like 40 years. Wow.
A little bit less. A little bit more, less than 40.
A little bit more, because I'm like 40 years. That has been us in diapers or something.
Kindergarten, first grade, somewhere in that range. But
elementary school. We were elementary school classmates. And
but you old. I'm young. I'm 25. I'm sticking.
Anyway, stick to that as long as you want. And hopefully the face will catch up.
Exactly.
So a little bit about me. The basics. One is I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I live out here in Queens. But in regards to tonight, I am a real estate associate broker. I've been a licensed real estate associate broker for 15 years. I service New York City. My sweet spots are Brooklyn and Queens and Long Island. Those are where I really like to make sure people get that home ownership opportunity. Then I also am a property owner. I own a couple of properties out here in Queens and love to advocate for people, especially homeowners, for small property owners who may not have that resource or support on what to do and working this as a business. And lastly, community development work. I love to help people just build community, build generational wealth, specifically low to moderate income individuals, Black and brown people. And it's important for us to keep it in the family. So being able to educate people about that process is also important to me.
Nice. So
saying a lot.
I mean, but listen, that's who you are and that's what you do, so it's amazing how we reconnected though. And we'll talk about that later on in the show, but it's been many years since I saw you. When I finally did see you, it was like, no, but wow. So it was a pleasure to meet you and the husband and the kids. So it didn't go the way we planned it going, but we still rock with each other.
Yes, definitely.
So what are you doing now?
Right now, I'm currently as a licensed real estate associate broker out at Peace of Mind Realty. We're located in Bedford-Stuyvesant. And I'm just pretty much right now helping people achieve the dream of home ownership. I also help homeowners who are looking to transition out of their homes. A lot of the times people are either looking to downsize or upgrade, but being able to understand it, when is their time to leave their property. And I help them with that. And then I educate people. I'm facilitating some workshops on first-time home buying, as well as workshops on first-time landlords. People think, okay, I got myself a house. A mortgage person told me that, if I get a rental income, it's going to help me with my mortgage costs and my mortgage payments. And then they're a landlord, they don't know what to do.
So here's a question. First, let me ask this one question. And this one question is going to be, and we're going to talk about how things are today and what's going on in the world today.
Okay.
With the pandemic, and we're seeing so many landlords, talking about they're not really getting, good evening, Teresa. And we're talking about a lot of landlords not being able to collect their funds because with so many people losing their jobs, it's just, it's not just in New York, it's across the entire country. So there are some people that are reluctant to buy houses in today's market because they're not sure if they're going to have the income to actually go into ownership. So what would you tell somebody that? And I mean, and we're going to twist it also, because I'm going to touch it into the health aspect of it. Because once you own a home, then it's, it becomes keeping up with it. And it's not only just the financial part, but it's also, everything that goes into it as far as maintenance. So what would you tell somebody that's not too sure about actually that wants to own a home, but not too sure in actually purchase it in today's, market?
Well, one is, I think it's about mindset, right? And it does also touch on health, because you get stressed in the beginning and stressed in the middle, get stressed probably depending on what you do after.
Mm-hmm.
Your mindset. And so I tell people first, it's never going to be a good time to buy a home, right? It's never a good time to get married, never a good time to have children. It's just always going to be something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have the preparation for expectation. And that's starting off with your mindset, starting off with why you even want to buy a home, right? Do you want to buy a single family home? Do you want to buy a cooperative? Do you want to buy a condo? Do you want to buy a multi-family home? Know your objective. That will help you. It's like, then you become intentional. Okay, I want to buy a one-family home because I want to deal with tenants, right? I don't want to have to manage people and wait for my rent to come or pay, and depend on that because in New York especially, most people depend on their rent to help them pay their mortgage, right? So you may not want to have that stress. The next thing is, if you're confident in what your intention is knowing your number. How much house can I really afford? And not the number that the bank gives you. Because you get from the bank, and the bank can say, hey, you've been approved for $1 million. Do you want $1 million mortgage? That's a decision you have to decide. Some people may say,
afford that $1 million mortgage, because that $1 million.
Some people, you don't know who we're talking to. Some people might be like, yeah, I can do that. And some people are like, nah, man, I'm not doing that. So you have to know your number and be comfortable with it, right? And then know your needs. Because we all want a lot of things. We all want that in-ground pool, the double, 2-car garage, all the stuff that we see. Like,
I mean, my first home, and I was living in Arizona. That's actually what my house was: 2-car garage, in-ground pool, and it was just like, it was what it was. But I mean, the market was so much different compared to what it is now. So we have Teresa says, we own a home, and at the beginning of all of this, we were at our highest anxiety level. Whether we would be okay, thank God for savings. My wife, thank God, did not lose her job.
Thank God.
Yeah, good job. I mean, and
but you have to do savings, right? Teresa hit it right on the head, right? Like, it's all about savings. Stress comes from when you don't have, right? When you're like, when you think that, okay, how am I gonna pay this bill? I got a mortgage, I got all these responsibilities. You gotta save. And most people, when you're purchasing a home, they require you to save have at least 3 to 6 months in reserve. The banks. And they want to make sure you don't get stressed.
With your program, you actually teach them that?
Yes. I teach people how to pretty much prepare yourself before you go out and purchase that home, right? Because it's easy to get the home. Once you see a home you like, boom, you're going through the process. It's preparing yourself for that, because then once you own the home, that same preparation is going to help you to maintain the home.
Okay, so let's switch it in. Once you get the home, good evening, everybody that's checking in. Once you get the home, and again, we have a special guest. Her name is Melba Martinez, and me and her go back many years.
Just go elementary school, because you're many years like we're like ancient.
We damn near are.
We're not. I'm not. I'm not gonna. I'm not receiving that.
Listen, it's okay, but I mean, we closer to 50 than we are to 20.
I'm still not gonna receive.
But anyway, a lot of people are. I know. I use me for example. When bills start piling up, the stress starts piling up. you know, and we'll have, you know, people, you know, like you know, hey, well, if you want to get a home, you know, that is the perfect time to get it. But there's a lot of people not looking at the back end as far as stuff that they're purchasing and how it could actually affect them physically. Because now all the stress lays down and say, okay, I have to pay this bill. How am I going to make sure I have the money? You know, I understand you saying, okay, well, you say we have to have a savings for 6 months. But using the pandemic again as an example, we've been in a pandemic for almost 14 months. So let's say I lost my job, you know, 12 months ago, and I used up all my savings. Then what do I do? You know, now it's like, okay, now I'm stressing about how I'm going to pay my mortgage, how I'm going to pay my lights, how I'm going to pay my gas, how I'm going to pay my electricity, how I'm going to pay the water bill, you know, and there's other bills, phone bills, you know, cable bills, so on and so forth. Might be car insurance, might be you finance the car. So do you also educate people on stuff like that? You know, do you send them for extra resources?
I do. So just a little bit more about my background. I was a HUD housing counselor, and I focused on foreclosure prevention, right? So I helped hundreds of homeowners, specifically in the Central Brooklyn community, save their homes, and sometimes have to transition out your homes. You know, our pastor, I don't know if you remember this, but he has said, when you die, there's no like flatbed with your house behind it, you know, following the hearse with your coffin in it. Like, it's just like the house doesn't come with you. And sometimes people get afraid to let it go. I'm a prime example. My mom, and I saw her stressed out, and, you know, that's put my business out there, but she lost her home. But guess what? She was able to buy another 2-3 homes after that. So you got to let go sometimes to receive what it really your blessing is. So I tell people in those situations are, you know, first, right now there's a forbearance for homeowners. So you can save on not having to pay your mortgage. That doesn't mean that you should be out there spending that mortgage money on something else, right? Mm-hmm. But you need to reevaluate. We call it emergency budget. What's the emergency budget? How do you streamline your budget to just hit the needs, right? Do you really need to send your kid this year on a tuition? You know, they're all remote. You know, you may have to cut that out for a minute. Mm-hmm. You need to refinance your car right now. You may have to get that bike or whatever it is to get you to, you know, most people are working from home right now. So do you really need to use the car right now? It's reevaluating your needs. And if you still hit yourself, you know, you're still hitting a wall, then maybe you need to sell and use that money, right, to position yourself in a better place until the next time you're ready to purchase a home.
Okay, well, here's a
first-time home buyer, it takes 3 years.
3 years, ooh.
Right, in order for you, if you are a homeowner now and you decide to sell, you become a first-time home buyer after 3 years. Meaning that you can then qualify for a first-time home buyer program again. I mean, you could sell your home now and buy another home. You just won't be that first-time home buyer program that most.
You just educated me to something that I didn't know that you know. So
well, that's what I'm here for.
I didn't know that. But we have a question for you.
Sure.
And Michelle, Miss Cat, this is, you know, I love her. You know, her question is, when shopping for a home, is it better to buy outright, all cash, or have a mortgage to better build your mortgage?
I mean, if you're buying all cash, that's great, right? Because then you don't have a mortgage, you don't have that monthly payment every month that you have to focus on. Mm-hmm. So I go back to the objective. You know, is this your long-term home? Is this something that you're looking to stay in for a long time? Are you looking just as a short-term? You know, why are you buying all cash, right? And then once you know that, then it'll help. But it's a personal decision. I don't think there's a preference over one over the other. Mm-hmm. Because some people just get a mortgage because they're not right now. They can't afford, you know, $500,000 house all cash. So they'll just be like, okay, well, I'm going to. But if we're speaking outside of New York, houses are less than that. So you may be able to do all cash.
I mean, you know, my first house was in Arizona, and it was a lot cheaper than the houses were in New York.
And you get a lot more house, I'm sure.
Way more house. You know, when I first came back to New York and I was looking to purchase something, I was just like, yeah, this is not going to work for what I wanted to spend. So,
I hope I answered her question. I think, at the end of the day, it's a preference. You can do all cash, but remember, now you're putting a big chunk of money that you probably saved away, right? Into something, invested into something. And then you want it to, hopefully, is in a place where it's appreciating, so that you can maybe take some money out later if you want. But what is the goal of doing the whole cash?
But if you do that, if you buy a house all cash, you own the house outright, nobody can't take the house unless the only thing you might have to do is pay on the taxes.
Right, pay your taxes and insurance.
So I mean, I think in a way like that, it will benefit some people as opposed to others.
Yeah, but you have, the person they know themselves and their finances better than anyone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being able to pay all cash, that's great. And that every month you have to pay your.
Okay, so what she's asking is, but would if she had a mortgage as opposed to buying outright, would her having a mortgage, paying the mortgage on time, would it help her build her credit?
Definitely.
Long-term permanent, and it will be a long-term permanent home.
Definitely, having a mortgage helps you with your credit, right? It's just like when they're looking at your credit report. Anyone looks at your credit report, those are the loans, credit cards. Those are the things that pop up on your credit report, and so paying those on time definitely helps build your credit.
Okay, well, 1 second. I want to shout out my sponsors before we even go any further. Shout outs to Sayings by Butter. Of course, she takes care of all my gear. I don't wear anything else but Sayings by Butter. Elevate Yours. She's the one that takes care of my CMOS and my soursop, Wise Choice and Dream. Of course, Faith No Fear Clothing. Envious Creations, just so you know, but you got to try her cakes on point. One by Rainbow, another Queens resident, also my little cousin. Happy birthday, Rainbow. Great massage. She does a whole host of stuff. She does traveling. She does drinks. Saying About Butter is also my cousin. So we have a family thing where we all have our own businesses. And
nice.
Also, how could I explain it? Indian Ivy Inc. Indy's one of my students in my class, and her mother and her sister have a business where they do journals, a lot of just different things. Team Raw, shout out to you guys. I'm sure you guys are on watching. And Shazzy Hair Emporium, for you want your weave, whatever y'all females do with y'all hair, whether y'all need the hair lotion or whatever it is y'all use, Shazzy's Hair Emporium got that. And of course, my homegirl, my heart, BQ Mommy Promotions, aka BQ Mommy Productions. They doing their thing over there. I just seen her do a show last Saturday, and she streamed it live, and it was just amazing. So shout out to them. Of course, shout out to Roz. You're not here right now, but you already know what it is. Shout out to the Evening Rush Network. Y'all already know. Dawn, Rel, y'all already got it. Now, back to you, Melba.
I love it.
So, I mean, a lot of people want to buy homes. So, with people that want to buy homes, what would you suggest? What would be like if somebody says to you, okay, I want to buy a home and I want to put the minimum down? What would you tell them would be their start point?
After going through all the things I normally tell people, which is, know your objective, your number, timeline, vision, all those different things. Get your mind right. Like, get ready to purchase a home.
Mm-hmm.
Get pre-approved by the bank. Like, if the bank is not telling you how much money you can afford, you just window shopping, right? You want to walk around and say, look, the bank pre-approved me, and not pre-qualification. So I just want to get some clarification there, because some people are like, oh, but I got pre-qual. I can pre-qualify you right now. Give me your numbers. It's a guesstimate. It's not actual. When you go through a pre-approval process, to see your pay stubs, bank statements, tax returns, your credit report, they want to see the full picture, your full financial picture, to then tell you, okay, based on your debt to income ratio, we can give you X amount of money for a mortgage, right?
But who is it that does the pre-approval? Is it you that do the pre-approval?
No, You can go to any loan officer. Sometimes people start with the bank that they bank at there and kind of get a pre-approval. And if you're a first-time home buyer, you can always ask lenders, like, what are you offering for first-time home buyers? Any programs, any closing cost assistance, any down payment assistance? But the first thing you want to do once you get your mind right is get that pre-approval. Because then when you're going out, especially now in this market, the seller's market, they're all outbidding each other. There's bidding wars all the time.
I hear about that all the time.
Open houses look like somebody's concert. So like they're waiting for someone's concert to go into. And so you want to be ready. So you put an offer down, we submit the offer, we submit the pre-approval, boom, you're done. Versus like, oh, I like this house. Let me go see what the bank tells me. Waiting for the bank to get back to you, house is sold.
Okay, so let's switch this up. Instead of going and seeing a house that I want to buy, let's say I wanted to build a house.
Okay.
What would you suggest with that? Because I'm sure there are people that are watching now that sit back and they're like, okay, I don't want to buy a house in the city. I might want to go up north. I might want to go, somewhere where I can actually pull up and there's land there, and all I need to do is just develop it. What would you suggest with that?
So I'm actually trying to start that process. I have some land out in Florida, and you got to do right. I think for people looking to build their home, they have to do their due diligence as well, which is understand what it takes to build a home. Right now, permits are taking long to build because of just the pandemic is slowing things down. My understanding building materials are also expensive, right? Because just things. People are trying to recoup their money from this time of not being able to do any work. So the due diligence, what I would first thing is find a contractor in the area. A builder in the area, and vet them. Don't just go to one, go to three. Vet them, see what they're offering. By the time you get to the third person, you know all the questions to ask because the first person kind of gave you everything, right? Start vetting them, then you create your timeline because building a house is not going to happen like tomorrow. It may take some time. They told me it might take me a year to build a house. I'm not even trying to build that big of a house.
I mean, but there's a lot of things that goes into it. First you got to do the pipes, you got to do the sewer line. It's
right. You got to build the foundation.
Everybody's looking at just saying, okay, well, the house is that part, but you have to understand there's stuff that got to go inside the house and underneath the house, and then to the street. As far as electricity and stuff. So
exactly.
There's a lot that goes into it. So
let's ask a question. How does it connect to fitness? I know you wanted to kind of connect all of this.
Well, so as far as fitness goes, a lot of people sit back and we're actually talking about financial, wellness and leading to health. So what I wanted to know is, and we're talking, I've dealt a lot of people that I talk to across the board, that own homes, especially now. It's not even just homes. It's just, having an apartment and, it's like, okay, well, how am I going to make sure my rent gets paid? How my mortgage is going to get paid? And we're seeing people who are going into these huge debts because, especially in New York. I talk about New York because, the average mortgage in New York is at least a minimum of $3,000. You have some that are lower, but you have a lot of that are actually higher. And the rent out here in New York is just ridiculous. You could get a 3-bedroom apartment for at least $2,500, and people can't afford that. So they're going crazy on how do we pay this bill? How do we pay that bill? So it's leading to stress, depression, anxiety, and with that comes high blood pressure. High blood pressure can lead to kidney failure and so on and so forth. So you being into real estate, knowing how the market is, would you put a plan into action? And I know this is something that you probably have never went into because this is something different because you deal with the financial part of it. But what about the health aspect? I'm sure you've talked to people who have had, when they call you or when they talk to you, it's like, okay, well, I bought this house and I can't afford it. My blood pressure is high. I'm going to the hospital because I'm stressing or whatever. What is it that you would suggest?
I mean, it's actually when you said that, I have a story of a woman, and this was back when the market was in 2008. When if you breathe and you have a pulse, you can get a house. It didn't matter anything because they had no doc um, mortgages, right? You didn't have to present anything. You know, you were just alive and good credit.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, you know, I remember this woman. She actually bought 2 3-family new construction properties. She thought she was, you know, she bought one for herself, right? And then she bought one for her son. And at the time when she bought it, she bought them so close, whoever convinced her to buy them so close, that the bank didn't see the debt, right? Because they just saw that she had only one house, or else she probably wouldn't have gotten that second house. She wouldn't have gotten approved for the second house.
Mm-hmm.
And she was so stressed. First of all, her son was like, "Why did you even buy me the house? I don't want to be a landlord." That was one.
I mean, she was probably trying to.
She was trying to build generational wealth, and
that's what I was.
You know, she's like, "Let me get in where I fit in," type of thing. She's got this opportunity to buy 2 homes, get some rental income.
That's what I would see.
Right? She's like trying to get some rental income, but she was hospitalized because she was so stressed. She could not pay the mortgage. Then people think, "Oh, I'm going to be a landlord."
For 2, so not just one, but was it one mortgage or was it 2 mortgages?
She had 2 separate mortgages. She had 2 houses, 3 family, and then she couldn't rent them because you think, "Oh, I'm going to be a landlord." No, it's not just, you know,
easy. Yeah.
You know, you got landlord. I can do all the things.
Like you said, vet the contractor or the builder. Now you got to vet your tenants, because
right.
You can't just get anybody living, you know, into your place, because now you could just rent to any Joe Smo on the street and they don't come in with the right intentions. Okay, I got this apartment for free, or I put a few dollars down, and now I don't have to pay my landlord. What they gonna do? Evict me?
Especially if they know that your property's in foreclosure. They're like, "Oh, we good." So
we good until she gets shut down.
She was hospitalized. She was stressed out. I mean, we wind up able to sell both homes in a package, but she also didn't walk away with much because one of them was underwater, which is then you do a short sale and you don't get no money as an owner. So it's you know, what I tell people is it's not for the faint-hearted, right? It all sounds good. I always tell sometimes people, like, get a co-op or a condo. There's no maintenance involved.
Mm-hmm.
It's some co-ops are more less expensive because you're buying into a share, and a condo is still a real property, but you don't have to worry about shoveling snow or any of those things. But in regards to paying your bills, you just have to, sometimes, like I said earlier, you have to let it go. It may not be for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because you can start over. Or maybe you don't.
Okay, so going back to the story about the young lady that you just spoke about, you know, after she sold a home, then what came of it?
Where did she what? Like she felt better. She transitioned. Her son, I don't know what became of her son, but she transitioned to a rental, and she felt more comfortable. I'll never forget, there was a guy I met. He used to teach home ownership classes, and he said that he rents, and he's always teaching people how to do home ownership, right? But he rents, and people are like, "Well, why do you rent?" He's like, "Because I know my capacity. I know what I can do." And he knows that he can't own a home because he doesn't feel comfortable having to deal with what comes with home ownership. So she went back to being a renter, and she was fine.
So she's back. Her health is back to being good.
Right, her health is back into order. She's in a place where she feels comfortable. She was able to get some money to cushion her rent, so she didn't have to, stress. Obviously, she had to pay back those hospital bills. The money that she's got from that one house, she was able to do a little bit of that. So I just tell people, you have to. That's
something that don't tell nobody, because stress is a silent killer, and depression leads you to do many wicked things. So I don't know, but we have to pay some bills. So with that being said, if you're looking to do a podcast, Melba, if you're looking to do a podcast, anybody watching, if you're looking to do a podcast, we at the Evening Rush are looking for people to join our family. So here's what you need to do.
Looking to podcast shows and do not know where to start? The Evening Rush Network can help you with that. Call us at 929-441-2417 or email us at theeveningrushnetwork@gmail.com for dates and prices. We got you for all your podcast needs. The Evening Rush Network. Tune in, subscribe, and share.
And of course, you already know it's the T.L.Mac Fitness Show with Mac and Roz. Of course, you guys can see Roz isn't here, but we have the lovely Melba here. You know, definitely representing for us today. You know, she wanted to come in and just put out a little information so that you guys can, you know, decide things. You know, it's what did you told me this is Financial Awareness Month.
It is.
So a literacy month, you know, so we wanted to get her in, you know, I wanted to get her in a couple of weeks ago, but it's so much been going on with this month. So I just wanted to get her in. So we're closing out the month, you know, and I wanted to just make sure everything was just copacetic so she can get on. And she wouldn't be mad at me and curse me out and say, I thought I was going to be on the show. So I got her on the show. And it's a blessing that having her. But before we move on, let me shout out my sponsors once again. Elevate Yours, Wise Choice Sewer and Drain, Sayings by Butter, Faith No Fear Clothing, Envious Creations. Yo, Envy, I need them brownies. I'm not gonna forget those. Sayings by Butter, Faith No Fear, One by Rainbow, of course, Indian Ivy Inc. Team Roz, shout out to y'all. Roz, we miss you. Shazzy's Hair Emporium, and of course, BQ Mommy Production. So, Melba, now we talked about home ownership. Let's switch it. Let's talk about rentals.
Okay.
What do you do as far as people looking to rent, and especially with the market? You know, I recall, you know, a couple of months ago seeing that you can get an apartment in Manhattan for a third of what they was going for a year or two ago. How has that been? I mean, well, you said you only deal with Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island. Mm-hmm. But I've also seen the same thing in Brooklyn, that prices have dropped drastically. So how has that helped you in your business as far as moving forward, getting more people into renting? Because I'm sure you got more kids getting off of mommy's couch trying to get their own now.
There is. So the market has opened up for more rentals, and the prices have dropped and given people the opportunity to be a renter. But at the same time, for small property owners, it is still having someone who's secure, right? Someone who has additional income, who has actually, sometimes we ask for a guarantor, especially if you're someone who maybe just lost your job or something, and being able to really secure this apartment. So it's a little bit more stringent now in renting, right? Even though the rent is low and there's probably a lot more vacancies than they have in the past. But at the end of the day, now landlords are really, you know, protecting themselves and making sure, like, okay, is this person a viable renter? Mm-hmm. Do they have the income that's going to support them to manage this rental?
And I mean, with the prices being so low, I mean, and everybody getting, I don't know if it's still the same, because, you know, I work, but if everybody getting $600 a week, you know, in unemployment, they could afford that until they can get a job.
Well, if you're unemployed, you're most likely not going to be the best candidate for a rental, right? But think about it, right? You're the homeowner and someone tells you, I'm unemployed, but I want to rent your place.
But again, you know, if now it depends on your circumstances.
It might be a little difficult. I'm not going to say that, you know, I'm not doing a blanket no. I'm just saying it might be a little bit challenging. But you also, as a person who was going to rent and you only get unemployment, you also have to think about, like, okay, what am I? Because this is where stress can occur, right? So now I'm renting an apartment off of my unemployment income. Mm-hmm. May run out. Well, it's gonna run out, right? Don't know when. and my lease is for a year or something. Like, you're gonna start feeling some stress. Like, I can't find a job, and I gotta pay this rent. All these different things. So you might want to stay where you are if you can.
I hope my listeners are listening. Don't just because the market is buyer friendly, you don't want to jump out the roof or jump out the window to get that place, whether it be a house or an apartment, because at the end of the day, if it shines right now, it might not shine tomorrow.
Right.
Would you agree, Melba?
I agree. You got to do your due diligence, and you have to know, you got to forecast your finances. You got to know they're saying, okay, if this is the rent that I'm paying, $3,000 a month or whatever it is, for 12 months, how much money is that going to be? And am I going to be comfortable paying that every month? And not only sometimes like, $3,000, oh, that's great, I could pay that. But what about your utilities, right? Are you responsible for the gas? Are you responsible for the electricity? I tell people a good thing to do when you're looking to rent a home, we either do 30% or 40%, what we call of your rent. It's called rental burden. So your annual salary, you multiply it by either 30% or 40%, whichever one you feel most people do about 30%, and then divide that amount by 12, and that's how much rent you really can afford.
Oh, I never do that. I'm gonna have you send me that information, because I like that. I never knew that.
You want to know how much rent you can afford, just like how you want to know how much house you can afford. You need to know how much rent you can afford, and don't start. Some people are like, I pay $2,000. I could pay $2,500. Okay, were you struggling when you're paying the $2,000, or were you like, comfortable?
Lay the $2,000 down like it's nothing. If you lay it down like it's nothing, then you go ahead and go for that.
Right, but some people think, I pay rent now $1,700. I can afford $2,000. The question is, are you comfortable? Were you comfortable with the $1,700, or were you struggling with the $1,700?
Big difference.
Right.
Somebody made a comment. Now, in the middle of last year, when people were getting all the extra unemployment, would you have rented knowing it would end? And now that's what we just was actually saying, and I made the comment about unemployment, knowing, and it depends on who you talk to, and I'm sure Melba's educated, so Melba knows. You have some people that'll look at you and say, okay, well, I'm getting this extra money every month or every week. I could afford this. And you have some that are very uneducated and be like, well, I'm going to get this forever, and not realize it's going to run out. Me personally, if I was unemployed and was getting this, knowing what I know, I would not take the risk and, like I said, jump out the window and go and rent. Wherever I'm at currently would be where I'm staying at, because eventually it's going to end.
Correct.
So that's the route I would take. But we have people that take other routes. We have people who have, and I mean, it's a whole different topic, but we've had people who have gone and got their bodies done. We've had people who have gone and bought super expensive cars. And when the money ran out, they couldn't afford their bills later on. So, I mean, me personally, if I was making $600 a week, that's $2,400 a month. If I didn't have any real bills, that money would have been getting banked. In 4 months, you got damn near 10 grand. It's a lot you could do with 10 grand. The business.
Yes, a lot of times people think about the present and not the future, right? So you're living in the now, and you should, but you also got to kind of live in the future too. Like, okay, what am I going to do? What's my goals? So if your goal is to stay living off of unemployment for the rest of the time, then yeah, you're going to do things that are impulsive and don't make much sense financially.
And we know plenty of people who do exactly that. I mean, that live off of public assistance, that live off of unemployment, live off of other people.
I mean, I think to be clear, you can do those things. I just think at the end of the day, at some point, you have to change your mind frame, like your mindset, and decide how long do you want to live like that, right? And
I agree.
there's nothing wrong, if you're down and out and you need support from other people, but you have to come up with a decision and say, you know what, I'm going to transition out of this into something more, right? Because we don't know what anyone's financial situation is or their financial background and experience has been. But when you're listening to shows like this or watching things that are about financial education, then you can start making a shift. I did want to kind of plug, there's a lot of what we call HUD, housing counseling agencies. I could type into the chat if you want. They can, they offer free financial counseling.
And that is definitely needed, especially with everything that's going on today. And, I would suggest to open up to any and everybody for that. Don't just jump in and say, okay, well, I can do this, because somebody, a financial expert, can actually show you, where you can go better with your money and make decisions. I'm about to go crazy in about 2.3 seconds because my 49ers is actually about to pick. So if I start screaming because we got somebody I want, don't mind me.
Okay. But I typed in HUD Housing Counseling Agency, HUD.gov. They're all throughout the United States. You can get either counseling to purchase a home or counseling to get your finances in order. You use the resources. Okay, what happened?
We got Trey Lance, baby.
Don't know what that means, but okay.
I'm sorry, y'all. Just so y'all know, I'm a diehard 49er fan, and we got who I wanted.
We have the draft pick is going on right now. What happened?
Yeah, the draft is on. So, I have to. I'm actually watching the draft and talking to you. I'm looking.
I know. And I'm sure the people who are watching can tell.
Yeah. And look, people are like, I'm watching too. So, Rel, thanks for putting that into the chat so everybody can geek. So, in the chat, we had we got the HUD.gov. So that's the HUD counseling agency. So, again, Melba she's on here dropping jewels for everybody. So I hope a lot of my peoples utilize this, and we can talk so much about so many different things, but it would just take us everywhere else. So is there anything else you want to add, Melba, before we go ahead and get out of here?
Yes, I definitely, which I'm putting in the chat right now. I'm going to be offering some classes for first-time home buyers as well as first-time landlords in the next couple of weeks. And anyone who puts in T.L.Mac show in the subject line will get 10% off of the class that I'm offering. That in the subject line as well as, in the chat, along with my email address.
Okay. Also, send me that information also. Send me that information also on the side, so I can post that every time I'm posting something. That information will also be when I send everything out as I go along. So I also will promote the show, the conference. I would call it a conference.
I wouldn't call it a conference. It's a workshop.
I call it a conference because at a conference you actually are getting educated also. So workshop.
They're master classes, right? They're a series to kind of help you build and navigate through the home buying process as well as the landlord process as the first time. So yeah, that's what I would. And then at the end of the day, go get educated, right? Be a educated consumer. Don't just jump in and go rent something or go buy a house or whatever, go looking for things. If you're not an educated consumer and you don't know where, know what you can afford. I gave you the rental burden, scenario. The formula. Know that for when you're renting, and then get pre-approved. Speak to the bank. Find out how much you can afford, and then go out and look for a home. Don't. And you may not be ready yet. It's okay. People be feeling that pressure. Like, I got a house.
And I have a compliment. Somebody said, wonderful interview, Melba. Thanks for the practical information. So,
thank you.
People are actually paying attention and listening. And
I hope so.
So, and during the workshop, I'm definitely going to promote the workshop. So as the workshops come up, I will let you guys know, and I'm going to tell you this right now, Melba, I've known you, more than half your life. So you're open to come on for anything, you ever want to come on a show, you got some houses, you got some apartments you want to show. Come
Definitely.
on, and I'll let you, get a little free time and just say, okay, well, this is what I have. Anybody looking for a spot? Come on.
Or anyone looking to sell a spot. It don't necessarily, somebody might be out there like, I want to downsize, or they might want to leave New York and be like, this is it, I'm done.
Listen, contact her, and if you need her information, just contact me, and I will pass her information on. And just do know, I get a 45% fee for anybody I help.
Yeah, I did want to share one last thing, and is that shout out my
I already know. Go ahead and represent for your people.
So this says, I don't know, my shirt is all crooked now, but anyway, it says Legacy Makers. V's Tees. I might have to put that in the chat too. So she does t-shirts out here, and whatever you want to put it on. So I'll send you the information for her too. I put
Shout out to Legacy Makers. Greatly appreciate you. You got Melba up here, showing off for you. So shout out to Legacy Makers.
All right.
You like that name right there, Legacy Makers. So that's a very good look right there.
Yes, that's what we're about. That'll be the next show. How do we help our kids continue to build the generational wealth and legacy for us as we move on?
So all my peoples, reach out to Legacy Tees at vt.com. That's VTE.com. Again, Melba, I would like to thank you for coming on to the T.L.Mac Fitness Show. Again, let me do what I normally do. I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate all my listeners, my viewers. Without y'all, the show would not be where it's at. We do what we do. So the T.L.Mac Fitness Show with Mac and Roz. Shout out to our sponsors, Elevate Yours, Wise Choice Sewer and Drains, Sayings by Butter, Faith No Fear Clothing, Envious Creations, One by Rainbow, Indian Ivy Inc., Team Roz, Shazzy's Hair Emporium, and of course BQ Mommy Productions. Again, y'all sponsor us because y'all believe in us. So we're gonna continue the show. The Evening Rush Network, you already know it's love. I helped build this from when we started in 2015 when we just had this show. So shout out to Dawn, shout out to my producer Rel, shout out to Melba for definitely coming on the show, blessing us with some information. We took the show a different way. Normally we just strictly talking about clanging and banging. We're talking about eating, protein, vitamins, and we've already said that, we want to get a little bit of financial information into here. And this young lady came on and she definitely helped give you guys some information. So if you're looking to get a house, if you're looking to rent, if you're looking to sell your house, you get in contact with Melba Martinez. If you need the information, contact me and I will get you anything you need from her. And also when she's doing her workshops, I will definitely be promoting those. So look out for the information, because once she sends me the information will be all across my social media.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, y'all already know what it is. It's the T.L.Mac Fitness Show on the Evening Rush with Mac and Roz, and we will see you guys next week, 8 p.m. Eastern.